Dhanyavad. Thank you for everyone who's taken the time out today to come to the Gurdwara and for us to all get together and to learn something about our ninth Guru, Guru Dev Bahadur Ji and Dikshit. Does anybody remember anything from last week? Last week that Benji did their talk, or the week before that? For a few of the others. Anyone remember anything? If not, then we'll jump straight in. Not to worry, not so. So, as we're carrying on, Guru Sahib here is going to a theatre called Gaya. And this theatre is where Brahmins would come and they do their Ishnan there. And what they believe is that by giving Dhan and doing their rituals there, that their ancestors would become satisfied. And this is just very brief, and we'll go into a bit more of the prasang in a bit. And what happens is these Brahmins come and do Jarja, they have a discussion with Guru Sahib, where they try and force Guru Sahib to do what they want. However, you've seen many times in the past when people try and force Guru Sahib to do what they want. Instead, it's either them bending to Guru Sahib's hukam. Not because that Guru Sahib was evil, but because Guru Sahib showed so much daya and they were melted from inside with so much love that they couldn't do anything else but to follow. So, what we see is in some of the opening lines, I know the writing's a bit small, so I'll speak to that. But we see that Kaviji says, Kavi Santokh Singh Ji in their amazing grants, Sri Guru Prakash, Guru's Prakash Grant, they open up with saying, Adbud Leela Sadguru Dayal, Karne Het Nare Adhikarin Nihal. That Adbud means wondrous, and Leela means deeds, display. There's wondrous play that Sadguru is doing, and how are they doing that? By showing compassion on everybody. How are they showing compassion on everybody? Karne Het Nare Adhikarin Nihal. Nihal means to become exalted, to go above the planes of sukh and dukh. You know how sometimes we'll have a good day and we'll be happy, but then you'll have a cold shower in the morning because the boiler's not working and you'll be sad, as an example. Or something else that has not made your day go right, and you've gone from being happy to sad. Guru Sahib is that one who takes away this constant fluctuation of up and down, and they make you ikras, one constant wave of happiness, which we call Anand. And Nar means humans, and they're making all these humans nihal. How? By giving them Upadesh and making them more. So that's just opening on. Sometimes we wonder, why has Guru Sahib gone to these Tirthas, for example? Why does Guru Sahib go to these Hindu places of worship, and so on and so forth? It's not to partake in their rituals, it's instead to save them from their false rituals as well. To break them away from just the action and building them, connecting them with the attention, making them fall in love with God, and why they are doing what they're doing. Does that make sense so far? Good. So, at this year, which is called Gaya, the Bhikkhu Kshetra Ke Mil Samudaya, that there's this massive gathering of Brahmins, and Suna Agavan Guru Tega Ai, that they're all doing their tirthas, and from somebody just having a pind, one gal comes and it spreads around the pind like a wildfire. In the same way, one person hears that Guru Sahib is coming, it spreads around like a wildfire. That all these Brahmins are awaiting to go see this Guru. They hear, oh, it's the Jagat Guru. They've saved so many people. Umya Chor, Sajjana Thak, Godaraj. Now that same Guru is sitting on the Gaddi of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. They are now coming to our Tirthas. Now let's go see them. Hence, it says, take an eye. They go and they do Matha take to Guru Sahib. Jo Pavid Pet Alai Mili. So when they go to meet Guru Sahib, they don't go empty-handed. They go with a Janayu, which, if you refer back to Guru Nanak Dev Ji, which is the Kshatriya, which is a soldier caste in the Hindu Dharam, that's what their initiation, you could say. And the Brahmins come, and they're in this misconception that Guru Sahib is a sect of Hinduism, and they'll explain why after. And as Peta, so like how we would put some money in the golak, they give darshani peta. So by getting Guru Sahib darshan, they bring something in exchange for that. Because when you meet such an amazing Guru, such the King of Kings, the King of all three worlds, the one that can protect you not only here but in the other world as well. And we'll hear that later in the eyes as well. But why would you not want to just offer them everything? Hence why when you come to the Gurdwara, that's one of the main things of having Pirta is to show the love that I can't put a price on what I'm getting from you. Hence why I'm trying my best to give whatever I can to you. That's why we must take, we give our safe to the side. And what we try and do is when we must take, we put our head emptying out all of our mind in front of the Guru Sahib and says, look, do what you want with this, but don't leave it empty, give me your gurmat. So that's just a bit behind Mathaji and the importance of giving Pirta as well. So moving on. So at this Tirat, Karahoshana Gaya Pinda Dija. So in this Tirat, people do Krishna. Deva Pitras Tripata Benagija. And the Brahmins say that Guru Sahib, if you do this, all your ancestors will be Tripata, they'll be satisfied. Now, Guru Sahib's ancestors, who's Guru Sahib's grandfather, who's Guru Sahib's father, they're all from the same Guru lineage. Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji, Gurudev Bahadur Ji's father. Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji's father, Guru Arjan Dev Ji, and so on and so forth. So their ancestors, if you put it like that, does Guru Sahib need anything else to become satisfied in this world? They're already one with a God. They are a God purified body. They're living in an earth. And so they don't need anything else. And Guru Sahib says, how do you know that this is actually going to satisfy your ancestors? And Guru Sahib gives answers. He says, that you have not understood the Mahatma of Tirat, of going on pilgrimages. That in this Tirat, in this way, the best way to get fal is Jarana Jyotari, that one who becomes enticed in the Jaran of Guru Sahib. And how do we do that? It was a lot easier, you could say, for the Guru Sikhs of the past when they had a physical human form of Guru Sahib. But we've got just the same in Guru Granth Sahib Ji. Now, how do we see those Jaran in Guru Granth Sahib Ji? By reading Gurbani, by doing Simran. Gurbani is like a conversation with your parents. And the best way to know your parent is to converse with them. How do you get attached to your parent? You converse with them. You learn what they're going to say to you. You learn about their nature, what they're trying to teach you. And again, to make your parent happy, what you want to do is take on what they say. If Guru Sahib says to do bhakti, to do loving devotion, then why shouldn't we? It's only going to make us closer with them. It's only going to give us benefit. That if you do this, if you do Dharan Jyotari, if you focus on Guru Sahib, doing Simran, Bhakti, all the things we just discussed, then your ancestors will get freed from these bonds of the Jurassic Park, the 8.4 million outside. There will be more. We hear in Gurbani that those true brothers save not only themselves, but 21 lineages of each side. I've forgotten the exact breakdown of it, but it's 21 total lineages that they save along with themselves. So that's what Guru Sahib is referring to here, and we can look back at Gurbani for that as well. So the Brahmins hear this, and they say, look, Guru Sahib, Tumasat Guru Vishnu Avatar, that you are the avatar of Vishnu. They are in this Kulika. But Guru Sahib is a bigger avatar than Vishnu. They are the one who created Vishnu. Vishnu only has certain Shaktis. They only can look after the world. They can't create nor destroy. Guru Sahib can do all three. And we hear it in Jogbe Sahib as well. So the Brahmins start to get worried. They're in this misconception that Guru Sahib is the embodiment of Vishnu. And they say, look, if you don't do this, then all the people who are Brahmins who have the faith to do this are going to break away from it. So, please help us out. And Guru Sahib, they try to win over Guru Sahib. The Brahmins try to win over Guru Sahib. They give us so many examples on why. And it's almost like how we say buttering up. People trying to appeal to Guru Sahib, saying, you're this, you're amazing, please do this for me. They're trying to win over Guru Sahib in that way. But we hear in the whole Shabad, we hear Shabad, Na Pija, Ragi, Na Gibid, Na Gibid, and so on and so forth in that Shabad, that Maharaj doesn't get won over by mere words, doesn't get won over by mere tunes. In the end, what we hear Maharaj is won over by Prema Bhakti. And within this adhyaya, it's a beautiful sakhi. We'll see how Maharaj really does get pulled by the strings of love. So, Guru Sahib says, okay, that's fine. I'll play your game then, let's say. So, the Brahmas trying to convince Guru Sahib to do Ishnan in this Girat and give Dan, charity. And Guru Sahib says, Chal, I've got nothing to lose, I'm not attached to my wealth. That whatever you want to do, even though what you're doing isn't 100% the truth, isn't always right, I'm still going to be compassionate and give you what you want. And that just shows how compassionate Guru Sahib is. That even though someone who comes and tries to win over Guru Sahib and with a bad mindset, Guru Sahib will still shower compassion on them. Humko deho aapna sarbanth. So Guru Sahib says, I'm now ready to give you anything. Everything I've got, I'm ready to give it to you. And the Brahmanas get excited. Oh, I can't wait. Guru Sahib's got this beautiful gold back. They got the fastest horses. They got beautiful jewels and stuff. That's not the Nishani of a Pandit, and Guru Sahib will go into that as well. But the Brahmanas are getting excited now. Guru Sahib's ready to give them everything. And when they get it, Guru Sahib is remained with Atoti and Hazuri. Baki Sara they gave everything else to these Brahmins. And these Brahmins are so happy, and Guru Sahib is still in their land. They're still sitting there, just unaffected. Just like a lotus flower sits in the swamp. In all this garden of the world, that lotus flower still is so beautiful. Whether a wave comes, they don't get won over by the wave, just like how a Gursik should try not to get won over by Maya. When these waves of Maya and bad times come upon us, what we want to do is face the sun. Just like how a lotus flower always blossoms when it faces the sun. That's how Gursik should be. Like Guru Sahib is that sun, constantly giving us heat. And this is another analogy we could use it. But they're giving us this heat to burn away all of our bar and the kind of Maya. And just like a wave comes on top, the lotus flower doesn't get put under. In that same way, when we look at the sun, look at Guru Sahib and take their support, then we don't go under. And as we can see, Guru Sahib isn't very attached to their mind. They aren't attached at all. And then they say to these Brahmins that ye Maya ke adhikari, that they saw what the Brahmins did, and they saw the smiles on their faces. And Guru Sahib said that all these people are just stuck in Maya. They're stuck in this illusion. Now, I'm wearing this Vana today. If it caught on fire, is it going to burn? Yes. And if it burns, what's going to happen to it? It's going to go to ash. Then what are you going to do with that ash when it goes into the water? You can't get that ash back, it dissolves in. So when Guru Sahib is saying that everything we can see will all be reduced to mitti one day. Our bodies, everything that you can see, your family, your friends. And that's why Guru Sahib is saying that you should always try and be like that lotus flower in Gurbani. And as we can see, Toti, Ek, Obarna Khan, that they kept one Hazuri and a Toti, Shivka, Asabandana, Tanasaru. And that the Brahmins are excited. They're excited that they've got all this done. And they're running away like little kids, chatting amongst each other, saying, look what we've got, look what we've got. They've just taken stuff from the King of Kings, we're the richest people now. But we'll find out that they're not content. And they live that these Brahmins, these Brahmins, they're doing jakar, they're screaming victory, victory, our victory. They think that getting wealth is victory. But Guru Sahib will tell us that that's not true victory. Any jewel can be destroyed. Any pound, any 20 pound note, 10 pound note, 5 pound note, they can all be destroyed. But what's the one thing that you can't destroy? Is Naam. The Jor can come to your house and take all your electronics. take your car, take anything. But what can the chore not take? The prem that you have for Guru Sahib and the Naam. That's why whenever you come to Gurbani, Maharaj will always tell you to do Simran, to find your actual Sarup. Because that is something that a mere human cannot take away from you. Whereas all these other things in this world can always be, they're all tangible, they can always be taken away. And this is why I love probably chapter 57 out of what we're coming up is one of my favourite ones that caught my heart today, because there's so much sikya that we can take from it that aligns with Barney that we read in our day-to-day life, which again we'll cover on. So moving on. That after some time, that after some time has passed, so the I, that these Brahmanas came up with a new idea. They got the understanding that that this Guru, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, is the Guru of the whole Jag. And that has so much praise in this world, so much badiyai. That they're doing this vichar in their hearts, in their head, amongst each other. Now what has Guru Sahib truly lost? What has Guru Sahib truly lost? And it comes back to that point again. Maharaj was Anand Swarup. They are Akal Guru themselves. How? They spend 24/7 in Simran. We cannot reach that lifestyle with Guru Sahib's Kirpa, and if we spend that time as well. Now imagine you've got a £1 million car, someone steals it, yeah? Not even that, you're more than willing to give it away. It's unfathomable sometimes. We can't imagine having that much money even. But Guru Sahib is willing to give it away. And we're seeing Guru Gobind Singh Ji's house that Maharaj had the Panchula Shastra, the Hathi, a piece of wood, sandalwood where they used to put their charan on, and it ended up being washed away in the Sarsa Nadi. But they didn't waver, they didn't care. They instead found an earthen pot in Machiwala jungle and said, that's enough for me, that's what Maharaj has given, this is the nature that Maharaj has given. So, coming back, Guru Sahib haven't lost anything because they are so attuned with Akal Guru's name. Akal Guru provided to be that announcement. So these Brahmins think, again, they're not happy. They're receiving 5 million, 10 million pounds, if you can imagine. But they're still not happy. And what they do? That let me write this letter of another request. Of the Asi, of this type. That all my lineages to come after me will always be looked after with wealth. They won't have to do a job, they don't have to worry about anything. And they say in this letter, they say, that if you are the true Jagat Guru, if you are the true Guru of the world, then the Sangat in this world of yours, Dana Sarvake Hama Adhikari, that all the Dan, all the Peta, all the donations they give you, why don't you give it to me? I'm Adhikar of it then. That's what they're writing in this letter. They're saying, let's ask this Guru Sahib now. And they say, Karam Maslate, Sadhguru Pahari, Vijay Kumari, Bohutunai. And I laugh when you're reading this because Karam Maslat means with humility. So on one hand, they've written a letter trying to take everything from Guru Sahib, and on the other hand, the Khabak out here, they're coming to Guru Sahib in humility, like bowing their heads and trying to show the outwardly attributes of someone who's religious. And what they do, they say, Vijay Tumari Hosanai. That Vijay means victory. Again, similar to Jayakarta, they're singing their praises of Guru Sahib on their way there. And they're saying this to Maharaj. They're saying, oh, Maharaj is a Jagat Guru. And all of these things, saying that, doing the praise of God, but trying to get them on their side. And then the Brahmins has the audacity to ask this. Sri Guru, Je Haman Jacha Deen Aapne So Sadalin. That whatever I'm asking, you've given. You asked what you wanted, and we said, give us whatever you've got. And you did that. You kept it for the owners of wheat, but you gave every other wealth that you gave. Now I've got one more thing to ask of you. And that thing again is in that letter, that all your sanghas gone, give it to us. So Guru Sahib says, Pura Vijaya Sotmapayo, that whatever you ask for, I gave it to you. Are you not content with that? I gave you, it wasn't even a little bit, it wasn't like it was 50 rupees, 100 rupees. It was everything that Guru Sahib had. And if you imagine who came to Guru Sahib Darbar, there was Guru Sikhs, which we will find out in the next Adhyay, chapter 58, that had mansions ready to give to Guru Sahib. We had Guru Sikhs who were ready to give their jameen to give to Guru Sahib, which we see in Anandpur Sahib. And Guru Sahib asked him, are you not content? I've given you so much. And Guru Sahib now is saying, look, right, it's time to give you up the Islam. Yeah, this isn't going to work. If you're going to take all these people's money, the Hindu people's money, you're going to read the scriptures, you're going to say that you're going to give them Sikya, let me give you some true Sikya now on how to be an actual Brahman, how to be a true Hindu. Law bechod, tajkar husn tosh. So law bechod, law meaning greed, chod. Get rid of it. And what does we'll look at the meaning of that, which is explained in the word contentment. Taj, so we get rid of that. Karaho santosh, that take on this virtue of contentment. And contentment is something that where you've got enough that you need to survive, and you don't need all these fancy necessities of life. You've got enough for prasad labani, you've got enough for a roof over your head, you've got enough for bills, and you're not constantly chasing after the next massive paycheck to go on a 5-star holiday. You're not going and saving up for a really fast car. Yeah, if you get it, amazing, but it's not something you should be fixated on and making it your life goal out of. That's what Guru Sahib says is. And if you do this, your dharam, your righteousness, this religion that you've taken on, will remain nirdosh, without any black blemish, you could say, without any blemish, without any fault that we can say, oh, the Brahmins are like this. If the Brahmins were amazing people, then we wouldn't have anything wrong to say against them. That's what Guru Sahib is saying here, and that's another Sikha that we can take. That all the Gorn, whenever we wear this dasar, whenever we've got a bit long garden, whenever we wear a kitwan on the outside, whenever we're in a bana, what are our actions that we're doing? What are we speaking? How are we presenting ourselves to other people? It could be someone on the road, and now if you're swearing, for example, and some other person is walking on the other side of the road and they hear that, they're going to wonder, wow, Sikhs swear. And that might be the first time they've ever met Sikhs. So that's why, how we can take such Sikha from its behalf, that Guru Sahib is not only talking to the Brahmins, they're talking to us. That we should always also give up greed. We should be able to give comfortably our Daswan. And not only just wealth-wise our Daswan, we should also take 10% of our time out as well. And that shows how we're not going to always be running behind Maya. And Karo Santosh. Karo Santosh. Take on contentment, knowing that whatever you've got is enough. Why? Because Guru Sahib is with us. We have Guru Sahib. We can go to Guru Sahib at all times. And we've seen the praise of Guru Sahib. That this is your main duty of Dharam, to remain content. You've given up all your house stuff and you're still stuck in Maya. You haven't got a family, you haven't got bills, you go begging to people. This is your Dharam to remain Santosh. So however much you can, stay in contentment. So the biggest Sikha from that part of the Sakhi was that contentment is everything to us. That we shouldn't always be running behind Maya, and we should always put Guru Sahib as our number one, and our Dharam as our number one. Because this isn't our Varna, it's Guru Gobind Singh's Varna as well. We don't want to put a kalank on it, we don't want to put a blemish on it. So after Gaya period, after Maharaj has been there, Guru Sahib now moves on to going towards Patna Sahib. And this is the analogy that Kaviji uses, and it's so beautiful, it's amazing. Kaviji says, so like the sun gets rid of darkness, and when you go by fire, coldness doesn't remain. In that same way, Guru Sahib is like the sun. They take away the darkness of ignorance. How are we relating ignorance to darkness? Because if we don't know the truth, then how can we know what we're going towards? If it's dark, how are you going to know how to get to the destination? Guru Sahib is the light and the destination as well. They're taking you on the journey, just like how Guru Nanak Dev Ji took Guru Angad Dev Ji to meet Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Same way Guru Sahib does that first. By giving them their Sikhya, and by giving their Sikhya, they themselves come along and take our hand anyway. And Barbara Nick Nasi high. So just like fire, when you go by fire, you don't get cold, you stay warm. In that same way, when you stay by Guru Sahib, it's like a radiator. Fog is like the cold. Our sins that we do with the guard. It's like the cold. Now when we stay by this radiator, can you get cold? Guru Sahib radiates so much heat like love by never leaving you alone, by constantly keeping you right secure. So I thought it was a really important analogy to implement. That was a really nice visionary example. You could put it like that. So Guru Sahib is going towards Patna Sahib, and on their journey in Patna Sahib, they meet a Guru Sikh named Jata Sikh. Jata Sikh now this Kar Bhagwan Heart Purada. That Jata Sikh was a businessman, and they had a Bhagwan, and I put the Desi Sweet Center. It's the most relatable thing. A Bhagwan is someone who makes samosas, spring rolls, that type of thing. Someone who does food. And within the idea, we'll cover the even, what Jata Sikh's life was like, and why they mentioned it at the heart, and why it's exactly about it. Antargate Nitadina Guru Kyan, that day and night, their antargat, their inward meditation, inward focus was on Guru Kyan, always on Guru Sahib, always Guru Satnam Vaheguru Jap in their day, while they're cooking, while they're cleaning, everything in their head. And we hear in Guru Bani, Hath Pav Kar Kaam Sabit Jeet Niranjana. They live and command that bhajan. They live that bhajan by doing their work while having their Niranjan in their jit, in their focus, in their consciousness. Guru Baladeen Lob Haman. And because they do so much heart is like when you do penance, when you put your body through hardship to do bhakti, because you can't be away from Guru Sahib, and you don't have any other desire for anything in this world. And we see that Lob and Haman, they had no greed, they had no care for his body, they had no care for food, no care for Maya, and again we'll come in the other later on. So their body was weak from bhakti, and they had no greed in themselves. So this is what the Sakhi, these two punktis are what Sakhi is going to be hinged on, if you want to say. So they used to wake up so early and do their Ishnan, but nobody would see them and they wouldn't go outside. And we'll see how they did Ishnan as we go on. So I don't know if when you make, let's say, pakode for example, you got the art on your finger, and when you put it in the shit come out and it goes in your kapri. Because Sataji, Jeta Seth would do that type of work, their kapri would be maleen. And they'd wear that all day because again they had no care for showing it off. There's a punkti that comes in Gurbani, and again it was another one that showed what Jeta Seth lived by. They said the punkti goes, Malika Mana Rupiki Soba Inabidi Janmadavaya. Malika Mana means the Mali is like your possessions, your wealth. So Malika Mana, having man, having hankar, having ego, having pride over your possessions. Rupiki Soba, that worrying about your root. Oh, is my large handing out okay? Is my dadi straight today? Oh, my spot's not on show. All these different things. Making sure I look perfectly fine. Rupiki Soba. And then Guru Sahib says, in a bidi, Janmadavaya. That people get so in touch and engrossed in these things that they waste their life in them. And when you look at something like that, Jeta Seth, with that description, is living these words, living the Guru's bhajan. And that is something that we all should try and do. We take one bhajan and let's focus on it for a week. That's something I'm going to try and do going forward as well. And it would be so nice if we could all come together and do that as well. Let's try and do that. And spending time that we would normally spend in working, doing our work while having Vaheguru Naki. Does that sound okay with everybody? Let's make a promise now. Perfect. So, Jata Seth goes to Guru Sahib and they refit that. And they give one handful of atta and mithai. And Simran Sadhguru Tarkar more. And that's another nishani of how much bhakti Jaitasir used to do. Simran Sadhguru Tar. And they used to do so much Simran of Sadhguru that they would tar mourn. That they used to keep mourn, which is a tariqa or a promise to Akal Purkar that I'm not going to speak. I'm not going to say anything else, but I'm just going to jab your name. And book bhakti is so much more powerful than doing it out loud, because then there's only space for you and Guru Sahib. When you say something out loud, Ranji might be able to hear, or Faisal might be able to hear, and they might, or if Faisal's doing one, I might be a bad Gursikh and say in my mind, oh, he's not reading this bhakti right. But if Faisal's saying it inside, then it's just, I don't even know what Faisal's doing. He could be having the most loving relationship with Guru Sahib, and it's only space for him and Guru Sahib because he's not letting anyone else in. That's why Mahabharats and in Itihas it comes that Guru Bhakti is so much more fun and is so much more rewarding. And Kahai Sirthi ko na shanan ho. Sangat as bastra sarir mili no khana ho. So the Sangat, so Jeta Sirthi, they come to Guru Sahib now. And again, it came earlier that Jeta Sirth's kapre were dirty from the work. And they came from those same kapre. And the Sangat asked in front of Guru Sahib, they say, Koho Sirthi ko na shanan ho. So we don't see you come out to the river Amrutullah, so why don't you do it shanan? Basra Sarir Mili no khana ho. Not only are your Sarir is dirty, but your Basra are dirty as well. Would you care to explain this, please? And Jeta Sirthi, he says, okay, if you want to see what my daily activities are like, I've got no problem with that, just come stay over at my house. So the Sangat took them up on that. And as the Sangat are going, they're staying at this Bhagwan, this house, this shop, and they're seeing what Jeta Sirth's Jeevan's like. And we hear it at the house, that every day, Nij, Dukan de Vich Ubaki, Simran Kavis. That every day they will sit in their shop and do Simran. He comes into the house in different grounds that they would close at 6 p.m. and from 6 all the way to 1 a.m. or 3 a.m. they would do Simran. They would stay up all night in the prema of God for Similar to Naam Sudai, that they would be so attached to this name of God for Simran, who was the Data also, Sukadai. Jamni Sam Baki Jabarahi. So at 3 a.m., here it is. At 3 a.m., they used to be Ishnan. At 7 p.m. is when the shop closed. And all that time they would be Simran. So, what would actually happen was the Ganga river would take on a physical form every night and come to Jeta Sirth's house and personally give the jal for the Ishnan. And the Ganga is one of the most, you could say, revered rivers in Punjab, in the Hindu Dharma. And it shows the importance of this, that things from other faiths, we hear that they are looking for Amrit. But even the Tirths, even the rivers that people worship are begging for the Tour of Gursikhs, begging for the Seva of Gursikhs. And you can see that here. As the Ganga river is coming to a Gursikh to do their Ishnan. So it shows the importance of how Mahan Sikhi is in comparison to other dharmas. Not bashing anything else, just showing the padavi that you can attain that Sikhi has in the world. Does that make sense so far? Any questions so far before we carry on? Okay. So Ganga would come, give the water, Simran Sukhadan. So after the Ishnan happens, Jeta ji starts to do their Simran. Jeta Sirth Badiai. That the Sangha now see this, they say, Jeta Sirth, you are very Mahan. You are worthy of all this praise. You are amazing. You have such a hard lifestyle that even the Ganga come and do your Ishnan. And again, bringing it onto the strings of earth, Achaha Prem Door Page Karaturan Kapon Chahat, the Anchaha Prem Door, that the Doria of Prem when they can't and when they pulled, Karaturan Kapon Chahat, that Guru Sahib with Turan with swiftness goes there. And we'll see that many times in Ittihad. When you do a vast, a bindi, or a part, out of pure innocence, the Guru Sahib will be at your doorstep in no time. The Guru Sahib will show themselves in many different forms. So that is that part of the Saki finished. So in that Saki we covered what is important, the importance of contentment, and the Mahanta of Simran, the Mahanta of the Guru is Bhakti. So chapter 58, continuing last, that Guru Sahib now is staying in Patna Sahib, and Patna Shahar Lok Bahubasa. So after Sahib Jawari, he was a jeweler at the time of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. And to cut the Saki short, Bhai Mardana Ji was given a jewel by Guru Nanak Dev Ji. So the Guru Sahib said, take this around to all the jewelers and get a price for it. And this is a jewel that's not been found on earth before. And all the jewelers said, I can't get a price on this. And Salas Jawari said, this is such a beautiful jewel, I'll pay you 100 rupees just to let me have darshan of it. Not for me to buy it, just to have darshan. And they said, take me to your master, and that's how Salas Jawari came into the Sharan of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. So very a long Saki cut short. And Chotye Than Lok Samudaya Bhai Veer Tithatha Na Bhai. That the place where Guru Sahib was residing for the Sanghas, it was a Chotye Than. Chotye Than. It was a small place, and there was a big queue, a big gathering, you could say, and there was barely any space. And it just shows a Sharda that even though it might have been uncomfortable to sit in the Sangha because it was so tight, people still went. And we'll see, Nagar Bikha in the Hit in the Gate, they hit to have this Taras Mid. That's it. Bahar Nagra Rahi Jiga, Sunha Jabha Aye Guru Kam. That people from other cities would come to Guru Sahib. Now imagine, they had no cars then, very rare to have a horse and a chariot, people would walk. Now, I was plotting the route here from Birmingham today. In a car, it takes an hour and 15 minutes. Walking it takes 9 hours. So imagine you're 2 hours away in a thing, 2 hours away from Patna Sahib, and you've got no car. That's a 20-hour walk. And people do that and stay with Guru Sahib. Now, we're so lucky that we can drive in a car 10-15 minutes just to get a Guru Sahib darshan. It puts it into perspective sometimes. Coming back to Saki, that the Sangha now wanted to get a bigger place for Guru Sahib. And they said that to make the Sangha a little bit more comfortable, let's get a bigger place and keep the Sangha to sit a bit more spaced out. And a Guru Sikh came from another city and they said, Prabhuji leho haveli mote. That please take this house of mine, and that will give me so much anand. And Tab ardas mevre kari tisi sikhya ki abadahari. That Guru Sahib said to the mevre Guru Sikhs, the ardasi Guru Sikhs, the Guru Sikhs at the time who would do the ardas for any Sangha that came, that do ardas so that this can be Parvan, and abadahari, that any problems that this person will have going forward will be destroyed. And that just shows the importance again of beta. So just trying to go through as quick as possible. Sikh ke sang jaho le dera karo taha bisram bidira mat naam ki ko le jaho sakal samaj samet sadar. That Guru Sahib saying now, okay, let's take this Haveli. We've got this Haveli now. Sikh ke sang jaho le dera. Take the Sangha to the dera. Karo taha bisram bidira. Do around there. Rest there. Mat naam ki ko le jaho. Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji's Mata Nanki Ji, take them there. Sakla Samaj Samet Siddhar. All the items that we've got, Pandi, Atta, Khana, whatever we've got, please take that as well. Masan lagi Sri Tegh Bahadur Ke Tak Divs Bitav Nathan. That what did Guru Sahib do? It says Ke Tak Divs Bitav Nathan. That in that place, Ke Tak Divs, many days have passed. What did Guru Sahib do there? And I thought it was important to include this, that what Guru Sahib did for Guru Sikhs and what Guru Sahib can still do for us now.
करह उदाहरण अधिक नरन को जो सेव है और शरदा ठान श्री मुख बाक साब कह बर को प्रह तुरत पिख नर पैमान. That karah udaran अधिक नरन को. They bless so many different people with mukti. Jo seva hai or sharda ठान. Those ones who do seva with sharda, who believed in the true Guru, that Guru is a God, Guruji, and whatever Guru says is my best. Guru Sahib still says that now. If we do seva, we can still get saved in that same manner that those Guru Sikhs did. Sri Mukh Bhag Sahib Ka Barako Puraha Turat Bikha Narapa Man. That Guru Sahib gave bachans, and with fear, with loving fear, people lived by it as it gave them a purpose to live, gave them honor. They said, Guru Sahib is my Guru, that's why I can live. जथा हुदासन अधिक जलत हुए निज तन को नह चहत चुबाए तथा अवज्ञाति पैमान नह विदाय कब मन में गाय. So just like a blazing fire. So there's a fire here, for example. Nobody wants to touch the fire. Does anybody want to touch a fire? Nobody wants to get burned, right? In that same way, Bab is like a fire. And who is telling you that fire is going to burn you? Guru Sahib. And when we listen to Guru Sahib, sometimes a child won't always listen to what we say. So we've got a 3-year-old, I think a 1-year-old, and a little one, 2-year-old and a 1-year-old at home. And they don't listen to anything you say. Just like a child doesn't always listen, we're like the childs of Guru Sahib. And we'll be touching that fire. That fire is Bab, that fire is sin, is the God. When we touch that, what's going to happen? We get burned. But if we listen to Guru Sahib and listen to them with fear, like you listen to a parent, then we won't get burnt and we'll stay fine, we'll stay healthy. Does that analogy make sense? Amazing. That those ones who do seva, and whatever their desires were, Gurmat Anusar, according to Gurmat, they were blessed with, and they were blessed with many different padarats. They had no kami of maya, no weakness in wealth. And they were blessed with sujas, the praise of Akal Purkh Guruji. The same rag compositions that we can listen to now from amazing ragis. Gyani Baljinder Singh, Ustad Baljinder Singh ji, they teach rag kirtan here. So all the Puratan compositions from Guru Sahib's time, they're still accessible now. And those are the same compositions that we see here. So just Mahadabitai, that Guru Sahib blessed to Guru Sikhs. But what was the main upadesh that Guru Sahib gave? Satya Naam Simran Kudeen. That they blessed the Sangat with Satya Naam Simran upadesh. So we cover this final prasang and then we'll do Samapti. So now Sangat come to Guru Sahib and they ask, very short, that actually, we'll include this Pangti. This Pangti is amazing. Sevak aapne jana daya nid aaye nihal ki sukhavanti. That Guru Sahib is daya nid. They have this treasure of daya. Aaye nihal ki sukhavanti. That whichever Sevak comes to Guru Sahib, nihal ki sukhavanti. That Guru Sahib, the ocean of compassion, has blessed their Guru Sikhs with their compassion. So beautiful when you imagine it like that. That this ocean is constantly, like an ocean is constantly bringing waves because of the wind and the way of the earth. The same way, whenever you read Gurbani, it's just waves and waves of Kirpa. And you've just got to be standing there ready to take it on. Yeah? And what is that Kirpa? It is taking the Gurbani and doing vichar and applying it to your life. That is what the Kirpa is. And the Son says, Tanwad Maharaji, Tanwad Guru Sahib, that how could we come to Punjab all the way from Patna? That you've come to us, and I'm lost for words at how amazing you are that you come to give us your darshan. And the Sangha do ardas, they get the Haveli ready and so on and so forth. And here Guru Sahib gets asked by the Sangha that what is the itihas, what is the history of Patna Sahib? And Guru Sahib explained that there was a king called Vridhard, and in Itihas it comes that they had 3 kuhanis or chuhani. So there was a measure, a Puratan measure that for armies. So when an army, so if you walk against dirt, the dirt gets picked up from your movement, yeah? So just like that, when an army would move, the dirt would get picked up, and the dirt would fall into a well. A kuhani was a measurement that showed that you had enough army to pick up so much dirt from walking that the well would be filled up with mitti, that all the water would be gone. And this king was so powerful that he didn't just have one, he had 3 kuhanis worth of army. His army, just by taking one step, could fill 3 wells. They had that big of an army. And the soldiers were like Indra Devda, and they protected the land of Patna Sahib. And at the time, there was a king of Kanchi, and that king had 2 daughters, in which those 2 daughters got married to King Bridharas. He was the king of Patna Sahib. And Raja Bridharas did a lot of jap, a lot of jag, a lot of dan, a lot of bhakti, a lot of devotion. And after that time, with either of his wives, there was no child. And one day they heard about this rishi, this devotee, this sage, you could say, called Chandramuni. And they were told to go and do seva there. And Chandramuni what they do was they'd sit under this mango tree, and underneath that they'd do their bhakti. And whatever you sing, so if we all did Simran right now, all the vibration, all the energy would affect this room. Everyone could feel it here. In that same way, when you do bhakti, it affects your environment, whatever's around. That's why Gursikhs will always be doing Simran or doing some sort of part when they're preparing food. Because whatever fal, whatever energy, whatever good, positive sikya you can get from that part will go into the food. And just like that, Chandramuni, all the bhakti they did, that went into the mangoes in the tree. So after doing seva, Chandramuni says, here, he pulls a mango off the tree and gives it to the Raja and says, here, eat this and you'll get a child. And the Raja gets happy, he's like, yes, that's it, that's what I want. So he goes back to the palace, but what does he remember? Oh, I've got 2 wives, but I love them equally both, so which one can I decide to have the child with? So what does he do? He thinks he can outsmart the rishi, and he cuts the mango in half, which seems like a smart thing to do. And he gave it to both of them, and over time, both of them fell pregnant. After time, the child was born, but what happened was, one half of the baby was born from one mother, and the other half of the baby was born from the other mother. So the fruit was symbolized one child. But because he cut it in half, that was like cutting the baby in half. And he fed one half to the one wife, one half to the other wife, hence why 2 halves were born. Does that make sense? Okay, amazing. So when this child is born, everyone's shocked. And you guys probably know more about Punjab than me, but at the time, what they do was for any child that they didn't want, they'd wrap it up in a kapara and throw it outside. Now, someone who's in 2 halves, they've got 1 eye, half a mouth, half an ear, they wouldn't be the most attractive. They wouldn't be the most appealing to look at. And that's what the Raja and the Queen was worried about. Hence is what they did. They wrapped both halves of the baby in a kapra and threw it in the jungle and left it to die. One day there was a demon called Chadar, and they drink blood, they eat bodies, and they hear this baby like crying from the Chadar, and they go over and lift it up, and what they see 2 halves. And long story short, what they do was the Shakti, with the power of a mantra, they join the 2 halves together and make the child whole. So they've taken the half from one mother, taken the other half from another mother, and with the mantra of the Shakti from the mantra that they recited, they came together. And the child was complete again. So then they had 2 eyes, 2 ears, a normal mouth, a normal body, so on and so forth. When the body joined together, there was a thundering that happened and a big roar that even all the Devte had, and they got scared. Because the Devte had been fighting many different jugs with different Raksh, Rakatabiraj, Sombana, Tumrana, all these different demons from all the different jugs these Devte are fighting with. And they hear this roar and they get worried. They're like, are we going to have to fight again? Oh, not again. So they see this, and even everyone around heard this roar, and it shaked all the trees around. And once the body was joined together, this demon called Jararaksh took this child back to the Raja's house and said, "Is this your child? This is what I'm hearing, it's your child." And the Raja got happy. They said, "Look, I've joined it together." And the Raja was so happy. All their doubts and all their sorrows got dispelled because they can finally have a normal child. And what they did, they named the child Jara Sand. Jara is because it's the name of the Rakshas that joined the baby together. And Sand means joining together. So this Rakshas that joined this baby together, Jara Sand was the name that was kept. And before, a slight part that I missed out, or it might come after that, was that Chandramuni gave a bhajan to the Raja that this baby is going to be such an amazing soldier that there's going to be no other kings like him, that he's going to fight against anybody who comes towards him, nobody can win over him. He'll take their seas off within a second. They're going to be that strong of a soldier. And we'll see that through the different lections that they've got. So after a long time, I believe this is the last slide that we'll be covering today. So after a long time, Chandramuni went to see the Raja, to see the child after the child was born. They hadn't been before. And the Raja is so happy because the one ichha they gave Chandramuni, the one ichha, the one desire that they had, Chandramuni blessed them with, which was a child. Just like how if a child asks their parents for something and the parent gives it to them, that child's going to be so happy with them. Same with the Raja Bridhar was so happy with Chandramuni. And out of so much prem for Chandramuni, they said, "Look, take my kingdom, take my Rajpad. I'm going to go into the jungle, do bhakti. You can sambhal this, you can have this. I have no desire for it anymore." And Chandramuni says, "No, you can keep that. My Raj is doing bhakti. And my Raj is going into the jungles and falling and melting into the love of a Kalpura Prabhuji." Chandramuni says, "You are a worthy king and your child is such." Here it is. "Your child is such within the world, his praise will spread. No one will be a king like him, the king of all kings, and he will win over all demons. Whichever king comes to attack with the strength in their body, they will send them running." So Chandramuni gives a bhajan that what type of Raja Jarasandha is going to be. And after hearing this, Bridhar's Raja, after doing some vichar, gave the Rajpad to their son, Jarasandha, the one who was joined together by the Jararaksh. And they went to do bhakti in the jungle. They realized that all of this Rajpad is jhoot, is false. It's all going to go. And the one thing that's not going to go again is the naam and the love that you have for God, Purukh Vaibhaji. Nobody can take that from you. And they realized that. And before going, they gave this on how to do Rajpad, what to do and how not to do it. And the ayah ends off with whichever king came. Because after someone new comes and you've never heard about them before, of course you're going to think they're weak. So many kings tried to come and take over Jarasandha's alaka, their land that they had. But whoever came against Jarasandha, they would easily defeat them with Jangi Niti, with good tactics. And with Guru Sahib's Kirpa, there will be there's two more adhyayas left until the end of Ras Dhyarani. So two more adhyayas in which we'll hear more about Jarasandha, about what his relation is with Krishnji, the whole family, why there was a fight, what type of fight happened with Arjuna and Bhima and Krishnji and all the sorts, the types of niti, the types of rules that a soldier should abide by, one-on-one rules, not two-on-one. And Guru Sahib has instilled that, just briefly before we finish off, that in Itihas we'll see that everyone abided by the one-by-one rule. But nowadays, nobody has that by good morals that we see in Itihas. And that's why it's so important to become steadfast in your simras, become steadfast in your Sikhi. Because nobody's going to have those same morals that we'll see come up in Itihas nowadays. The Mughals didn't. And what did Maharaj do? Sawa lakh se ek ladon. They got 125,000 Mughals and got one Guru Sikh to fight against them. And to finish off with this, I think the main takeaway was, especially from the Gaya Sakhi and the Jet Asir Sakhi, was the importance of Simran. What can you get from Simran? What can you get from Guru Sahib's Bhakti? What is it that you can't get? And what is it that we should be able to see that Guru Sahib has everything in their hands? That even if the Brahmins, he weren't even a Sikh, they were from a different faith, they knew that Guru Sahib was a Jagat Guru, then we should come with the same Sharda to Guru Sahib and say, Guru Sahib, you are the Jagat Guru. What have I got? to worry about. जा तू मेरे वाल है ताकि मोह छंदा तो सब कुछ मैनू सौंपिया जा तेरा बंदा. So pull your mouth for any mistakes, and let's finish off with one more mantra and Bala Fateh. Satnam Sri Vaheguru Sahib Ji Ek Oankar Satnam
Karta Murkh Nirbhau Nirvair Akat Murkh Ajuni Sabham Gurprasad Jap Ad Sat Jugad Sat Happy Sat Nanak Hosi Sat Jishai Rahana Chutiya Khir Pudanahar Vasanahar Vasanar Nanak Par Utar Je Husajun Asi Sabya Jo Khuda Sahib Se Umeed Vaheguru Ki Khalsa Thank you everyone for attending.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਭਾਈ ਲਵਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ। ਧੰਨ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਜੀ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਤੇ ਆਪ ਸਭ ਸੰਗਤਾਂ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ for attending today. Just a couple of announcements. The next 2 weeks will be done by Hind Ji Akal publishers on the assassination of Indira Gandhi and the 9 Peace Sangharsh. Both the sessions will be recorded, so they need everyone please attend in person. Also, request from Sikh UK. We have the freshest fair tomorrow, on Wednesday in Coventry, and there will be coaches leaving from DMU at 4 p.m. So if anyone wants to attend the freshest fair, Odele Chadar DMU on Chimney Kapal. So it's really speaker का सम्मान होगा जी. बोले सोनिहाल सत श्री अकाल. And we have the chiefs and deans at the end of the Diwan hall. So please stand and वाहिगुरू जी का खालसा.